up, everybody? So, last week we were getting into ways warriors win with wages, right? And we had some technical difficulties, unfortunately. But today, as you can see, we're in a whole new setup. We're in a place where I believe the internet connection is a lot better, so we won't get interrupted. But, just in case, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come before you. And I thank you for the opportunity to share with your people. I ask that you bless my words with clarity and power, Father, that it would input everyone who needs to hear it. And we ask that you bless this technology, Father, so that everyone who needs to hear it can hear it. And it's in the mighty name of Yeshua we pray. Amen. All right. So welcome. So this is the way warriors win with wages, and this is the redo. And again, as we start all our lives, I like to welcome my Facebook Live audience and my TikTok audience. So if you see me going from camera to camera, that's why. So welcome, everyone. Welcome. So if you're here for the first time, right, thank you for visiting. I'm Troy Sneed. I'm author of A Gifted Tome, The 40-Day Spiritual Fast for Dialysis Patients. And I'm also the admin of this here live group called Dialysis Disciples, right? So who's ready to get it popping? Who we at? We got some comments. Who we at? Who's with me? Who's with me? Let me get it ready. Let me get it ready in the chat if you're ready to get this popping. All right. So, so if you're catching on the replay, put team replay. If you team live, let's get a muscle emoji. Let's go. All right. So I'm gonna start up with a bold question. I'll start with a bold question, right? All right. Have you ever felt like your value decreased the moment you got diagnosed with a kidney disease and started dialysis? Right. Think about that. Like once you realized that you had to do dialysis treatments and your kidneys weren't working, like, and you had to start dialysis, did that make you think like you were a lesser person, a lesser human being? I used to think that. I used to think that because I was on dialysis, I was a weaker member of society, right? Is that something you struggle with, guys? Get some feedback in the chat, guys. All right, because I want to let you know that that's not true, right? You are a child of God, and He created you for a purpose, and that's something we're gonna get into a little later, right? But I want to let you know, like one thing, your value is never tied to your kidney function, right? Think about that. So when we talk about value, like, what do I mean when I say value, right? So before we talk about the four levels of value, right? Because the way warriors win wages are based on the four levels of value. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the four levels of value, right? But I had to give you that nice little witty title so you'll watch, right? But I know you're not here for that. I know you're not here because of the titles of the. I know you're here to learn and get value, right? Now, last week we talked about the difference between value and values, right? So today we're going to be talking about value. But when you hear values, like when people say, what are your values? Right? I like to define that as anything in life that you value more than money, right? Those are your values. Things that in your life that you treasure that money can't buy, right? So my particular values, the values that me and my wife hold are faith in God first, family, health, growth, right? Service, legacy, impact, significance. These are all values that we hold high, right? But today we're going to be talking about value, right? And the value you bring or you add to society, right? And there's four main ways or four levels, right, of value creation. And that's what we're going to talk about, right? So, um, the biblical definition of value is like your value isn't based on how strong your body is based on how powerfully God can use you, right? So that's so Jeremiah 1:5 says, Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and I ordained thee. Come on now. If that ain't the highest level of value, I don't know what is, right? The value that God puts on you is your highest level of value, right? So, your value isn't defined by, your value is defined by God, not, your value was already defined by God before dialysis, before your condition, right? And it remains unshakable today, right? So a lot of us dialysis patients struggle with our value, and that's tied to identity, and that's a whole nother video, right? Right. So that's the biblical definition of value, right? But the practical definition of value is what you bring to others that makes a difference in their life, their outcome, or their experience, right? Who's with me? Can I get some emojis in the chat? Can I get some emojis in the chat? Who's with me? Who's listening? Who's rocking with me here? Okay. So, okay, where we at here? All right. So, all right. Your values also, is tied to, the wisdom from your journey. Like it's also tied to the strength of your struggle, right? And your values is also tied to your ability to inspire and serve and lead and educate, even and most importantly, so from the dialysis chair, right? Your value is not tied to your blood pressure or your GFR for all you pre-dialysis people, or your ability to lift stuff, you know, or actually how much money you earn right now. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about is how to increase your value not only to the world but in the marketplace, right? Because just because you're in dialysis doesn't mean that you're stuck in moving through in your life, right? So, your values tied to your ideas and your perspective and your voice and your influence, right? And your ability to lift people up with your words. Like when you're just walking around out and about in the streets or whatever, like, are you walking with your head down and your phone, look, and you don't care anybody? We call those shoe lookers, right? Or when you cross people's paths, say, "Hey, how you doing?" You look them in the eye and you smile and you lift them up, right? That's letting your light shine, right? And that's adding value to the world, right? So I want you to say this out loud with me, guys. Say, I want you to say this out loud with me, right? I am not my labs. I am not my label, the label that society puts on me, and I am not my limits, right? Put it in the chat. Labs, label, limits. Put it in the chat. Put that in the chat if that resonates with you, right? You're valuable because God made you that way, right? And today I'm going to show you how to unlock that value at every level, right? So you can stop surviving, right? And start serving and leading and earning and living again while on dialysis. Who's with me? Who's fired up? Can I get a fire emoji in the chat? All right. All right. So, okay, I'm just making sure I'm rolling because last few weeks ago I wasn't even live. I thought I was live. I wasn't live. Okay, we rolling. We rolling. Where everybody at? Where everybody at? Okay. So, who's ready for the first uh level of value? Right. Put a one in the chat if you're ready for the first level of value. Can I get a one from somebody? All right. So the first level of value creation, the way warriors win wages, right, is what is called implementation. Implementation, right? That microphone keep falling. It's called implementation, right? It means like the work you do with your hands, right? If you're at McDonald's and you're flipping burgers, right? Or if you're a diesel mechanic and you're under someone's hood and you twisting and you turning some knobs and gears, right? Now, these things are valuable, right? But it's the lower level of value. Things you do with your hands, the work you actually do, like the job you do. It's physical work, right? It's task oriented, right? It's time for money. So like if you're in dialysis and you have a job and kudos to those people, right? Because there's a lot of kidney warriors I talk to and work with who have 9 to 5 jobs and they do dialysis, right? So I try to tell them, hey, listen, man, like like most dialysis patients aren't doing that. Like they're sitting back, collecting the check, and waiting, letting Uncle Sam take care of them, right? But these guys are out there who are working. Like kudos, I'm proud of you. Already taking the first step to thriving on dialysis, right? So you might be delivering packages, you might be stocking or organizing papers and things like that, right? But while that does create value, it creates a low level of value, right? So you may be doing this kind of work because you feel that's the only thing available to you right now, right? Um, but it requires a lot of energy, right? Based on what you have to do in your life, you know, and it may pay the least, right? So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question here, guys. If this is you, right? If you are one of those strong dialysis patients or kidney warriors who are working a job, right? Um, like, have you been like believing your only worth is how much you can physically do each day? Think about that. Think about the value that you're creating. Do you feel that that's the only level you can provide is by providing physical labor, right? Something to think about, guys. Something to think about. All right, who's ready for the second level of value, right? So we talked about implementation, which is the lowest level of value. All right, the next level of value is the second level of value. Who's ready for that one? Can I get a 2 in the chat? All right, okay, let's go. So the second level is unification, right? So this is about the first level of leadership. So John Maxwell wrote a great book. It's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, right? And he also talked about the 5 levels of leadership. But one of the lowest levels of leadership is management or unification. So you've done enough work with your hands, right, to show your bosses or whoever you're reporting to that you can go to the next level. And that next level is called unification. That's like being a manager at your job, right? Um, you monitor stuff, you supervise stuff, right? And and this is the second level. But the only way you can get to the second level is mastering the first level. So if you're working a job, right, and you're working and working, and you've never been approached to like be the supervisor or move up to a managerial position, that means you're still creating that low level of value, right? So, when you hear when the bosses or whatever come to you and say, "Hey, there's a supervisor position open. Would you like to apply?" Right? You can take that as okay. I've done all I can do here with my hands at this low level of value, right? So when you become a supervisor or a manager, that's a more moderate level of income, right? So even as a dialysis patient, you can partake in those particular roles, and it's probably better for you because now you don't have to work as much with your hands, and it's not as much about your physical labor, right? So you've gained wisdom. You don't have to be in the be in motion to bring motion to the company organization. That makes sense. Like you can unify, you can delegate, you can guide, right? Is this making sense to anybody? All right, let me get some comments in the chat. Let me know y'all here with me. All right, but I have a question for you guys who are in a unification mode right now, the unification level, right? Think about this. Are you thinking like staying organized is enough, right? But deep down, you still feel unfulfilled? Think about that. You work with your hands. You've gotten a promotion maybe to like a higher level position, a manager or a supervisor, but you still feel like unfulfilled. Like I know there's more to it. I know there's more to it, to life and to my abilities. Think about that. So we got implementation and unification. Who's with me, guys? Where y'all at? Anybody here watching with me? Okay. I see a couple of y'all popping in. Let's get some comments, get some reactions, give me some emojis. Let me know y'all paying attention here. All right. So now these next 2 levels of value. So there's 4. There's implementation, right, and there's unification. So these what we call below the neck value creation, right? So these next two, right, are what we call above the neck value creation, right? And we're gonna I'm gonna talk about why that is and why that's called that, right? So, who's ready for the third level of value? The third way warriors win wages. Can I hear it? Can I hear it? All right. All right. Who's with me? Who's with me? Let me get some feedback in the chat. All right. So the third way, and these next two are above the neck, and these are the high levels of value creation when you go about earning this way, right? When you go about walking your dialysis journey with, with this mindset, right? And the third way, right, is communication, right? You use your tongue, you use your words to bring value, right? Uplifting people, right? Your words. Maybe you coach and you mentor. Hey, that's me, right? You speak. You do speaking engagements. You teach. You're communicating. You're talking to people. You write books, right? Content creation, storytelling, right? Acting. You're acting. Like how much money Denzel made last year? Because he's using his words in his mouth, right? You're making music. You're rapping. You're singing, right? These are these are high level of value creation, right? That's why they get paid the most amount of money, right? And we're gonna get to this later, but these are all things you can do from your dialysis chair, guys, right? All these things you're doing, you can do from your dialysis chair, right? You can coach, you can mentor, you can make content, you can write books, you can write music, right? Plays. You can do things in your dialysis chair that communicate your value to people, right? And think about this: like your story is your platform. Like the word says, we are overcome. We overcome by the power of our testimony, right? Like there's power in your pain, right? Just you can just pick up your phone, go on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and tell your story, right? If you do that consistently from your chair, right, watch your audience grow, and that's what everything is based on is audiences, guys. This whole system of the way the country is headed is all about attention, and it's about follows and subscriptions and all of that. That's because that's where the value is for people to make it, to use your words, right? Right? So we spend what's the movie industry, $1 trillion industry, when all you got to do is sit down with somebody, look them in the eye, and hear their story. That's a movie right there, right? And your story is a movie. Your story, that there's profit in your pain and in your power, guys. So I know a lot of you on this channel aren't really focused on wealth creation, but a lot of us are, and a lot of people I sit down with are, right? And a lot of them think because they're on dialysis, right, they don't have that ability to build wealth. But sitting in that chair is absolutely the best time to do it, right? So I got another question for you, right? Are you silencing your story because you think no one wants to hear from a dialysis patient? Is that where it is in your mind? Is your identity tied up in you being a kidney patient, right? Or do you know that you're a child of God? He gave you a purpose and a reason, and He gave you a voice. The word also says we overcome. I'm sorry, it says life and death are in the power of the tongue, right? Why is that? Because communication is so valuable, guys, right? And that's the third level of value creation. So you can implement things, you can use your hands, right? You can unify things, you can use systems, and you can basically manage people, right? Or you get to that next level with communication, where you say, you know what, I got a story to tell, and not only am I going to bless people and tell my story, I'm going to help them, and I'm gonna gain wealth doing it. Is that a mindset shift for some of you guys? That my story can bring wealth? Where do you think books come from? People who have best-selling books, where do you think that comes from? Right? It comes from communication, and it's going to come from the next level of value that we're going to talk about, right? And the next level of value we're going to talk about is the highest level of them all, right? And this is so powerful, guys. Once you wrap your head around this next value creation level. I mean, guys, if you accept this, your life is going to explode, right? And if you really dig in and be consistent and find the purpose for why God put you here and why you're on dialysis, right? That's a blessing beyond measure, guys, right? Who's ready for the fourth level of value creation? The fourth way warriors win wealth and win wages. Who's ready for me, guys? Can I get a four in the chat? All right, ain't got a lot of we haven't got a lot of feedback from you guys today, but that's okay. I know my replay team got me. Our replay team gonna watch this and be fired up. That's what's up. So I know this isn't in vain because I'm doing God's work. Hallelujah. All right, so the fourth level of value creation, right, is imagination. Ooh, right? Just think about the people who imagine something incredible and now they have legacy beyond legacy. First thing that pops in my head is Walt Disney, right? He had a vision, he had an imagination. He imagined a mouse that could talk. And now there's a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-trillion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar company based on Walt Disney because of imagination, right? Right. So what is imagination? It's ideas. It's ideas you birth. You birth these ideas that God gives you, right? It's vision casting. It's casting visions for others, like leading a team, like Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, his political views, he's a master vision caster, right? He envisioned highways under the cement, and it's coming to happen, coming to fruition. He imagined cars that drive by themselves, and they're here. He imagined rockets flying to space with people on them, and that's happening, right? And look at it, he's a wealthy billionaire, right? Because imagination is the highest level of value creation, right? It's your business ideas. You can create a course to teach people how to handle dialysis. I'm giving you gold here, guys, right? It's intellectual property, right? Why do you think Apple is such a huge company? Because Steve Jobs had a vision of a handheld phone, right? A computer, right? Things that you didn't even imagine, but they imagined them, right? God gave him that download, and he's waiting to download stuff into you, but you got to get your all these other stuff right. You got to go these levels before you can even attack this, right? I hope I'm reaching somebody here. Hope I'm reaching some of you guys here. This is valuable stuff. This is gold, guys. This is gold, right? I paid lots of money to learn all this knowledge, right? And I'm giving it to you guys. Just all you have to do is just be in this group, right? So this is awesome, right? Because in a dialysis chair, all you have is time and imagination, right? And the beauty about dialysis, right, is think of it this way. I've said this in other videos and podcasts and things, but just think, you know why we fast. If you're on this channel and you're watching this live, it's because you know the power of God and of Christ Jesus and the vision and the power he gives us of imagination, right? And while you're in that dialysis chair, it's like a mini fast. What do we do when we fast? We stop eating a lot of junk so that our bodies are cleared of the toxins. You hear the correlation? Dialysis machine. You're on a machine, the blood's churning, and it's cleaning you out of toxins, right? So what does that do? It gives you the ability to hear God's voice even clearer. So when you're on a dialysis machine, it's like a mini fast. It's the perfect time to worship and pray and hear from God. Ask God. If you got it, the word says, if you anybody who lacks wisdom, ask him and he'll give it to you abundantly, right? Get on that machine, right? As soon as you start machine, pray, put some worship music on, get in the word, let him speak to you. Ask him, Father, why am I on this machine, right? How can I use this machine to help others and tell my story? He'll tell you that. I promise. Look at me. I promise he'll answer that for you because he did it for me, right? That's why I'm here with you at dialysis, and not to do too much of a sidebar, but as I mentioned, I wrote a book. It's called The 40-Day Spiritual Fast for Dialysis Patients. So I did that spiritual fast that I wrote, that he had me write, right? That's inspired by him. And coming out of that fast, I knew my purpose. I knew my purpose was to talk to you guys and help you guys. Where'd that come from? Imagination. That's how God relays his dreams for you to you, is through your imagination. He won't, if you ever think of something and imagine something, right? Like, God's not going to give you that download if it can't come to fruition. Think about that. Why would God give you an idea that you couldn't achieve, right? But he needs you to go through all these levels, and he needs you, right, to just work on yourself, get in your word, and eliminate all the fear barriers that you're facing so that you can attack the imagination that he gives you, right? And if you've been here for any of my videos, you know it always comes to the main point of all my live videos. It's purpose. He gives you your purpose through your imagination, right? Anything you imagine is tied to why God put you here, right? And he gives you so many ways. He gives you so many witty ideas and inventions, right? It's up to you to cross the fear barrier and attack those inventions, guys, right? So here's the question for you. Have you convinced yourself it's too late to dream because of your diagnosis or your age or anything like that? It's not true, guys. I believe Abram was 89 or 90 when he started his family, right? I believe Moses was late 60s when he started his journey he's so famous for, right? So, guys, when you get your life together, right, and you start digging in the word and start walking righteously, cutting out sin, right, and living life the way God invented you to do it, he'll show you your dream. He'll show you your purpose, guys. I promise you, right? Don't let your diagnosis, deter your destiny. Ooh, I just made that. Don't let your diagnosis deter your destiny. Ooh. All right? So, the greatest value isn't what you do, is in what you see, what you say, and what you share. Come on, guys. Give me some fire give me some fire emojis in the chat. I just blessed y'all. I don't even know if y'all really realize, how much blessed y'all just got. This is the stuff that God gave me, right? And I'm glad we live in an age with technology where, this stuff can be recorded and it can go down with posterity, because I know there's going to be somebody watching this and get blessed, right? Whether it's on the replay team or if anybody want to hop on here late. Okay, so that's the 4 levels of value. We're going to recap for you. Lowest level, implementation. Second level, unification. Third level, communication. Highest level, imagination. Let's go, guys. Give me some fire emojis. All right, so here's my question for you today, right? All right. How many of you want to be more than just a patient, right? More than just a number on a chart, and actually live with purpose and wealth and wisdom, right? But you feel stuck because you're on dialysis, right? I can help you get through that, right? It's very difficult to get there alone, right? You're going to have blind spots, right? It may be your strategy. It may be your mindset, right? So that you can actually thrive for good without falling back into hopelessness and burnout from dialysis, right? That's what I specialize in, guys, right? I help high-performing dialysis patients build purpose-driven plans, right? Physically, financially, and spiritually, right? My coaching program is the gold standard of getting out of survival mode and get into real significance, right? If you want to reclaim your voice, redesign your life, rediscover your value, right? Just like I did, right? And just like many of my clients are doing, right? So, if any of this resonated with you, right, let's hop on the call. That's all. One step of faith, one leap of faith is hop on the call with me and we can talk about your plan, like what you got going on. Like, we could talk about what you want to work on, a strategy, right? So in the chat, drop the word call, or put a phone emoji, right? Or write the right call, right? And I'll reach out to you, right? We'll talk about for 45 to 60 minutes on a chat. I ask you some questions, help you map out where you at, right? And if it makes sense, we'll talk about how it is, how, what it looks like to work together, right? Um, and if not, if I can't help you, then I'll point you in the right direction of something or someone who can. I'll send you some valuable resources to help you on your journey, right? So you just remember that dialysis doesn't define you, right? Your discipline and your destiny define you, right? So let's walk it out together, right? So if any of this resonated with you, right? Let's hop on a call. Let's talk about it, right? So I appreciate your time today, guys. This is a short one for you. This is a short one for you. I know a lot of people got a lot going on. Some of you got to rest to get on that machine. But I love you guys, and I'm here to help. You know, well, I'll close with this. Ask yourself, like, why did Moses leave all them disobedient people in the desert and leave, go to an island somewhere and chill, right? You know why? Because God called him to help those people, and He's called me to help you. Stay strong, dialysis disciples.